Welcome everyone to another Computers to Replaycast, and this is going to be from the Moonlight 4v4 East versus West tournament, hosted by the Chinese community of Computers 2. It's going to be featuring both Chinese and Western teams, fighting it out on 4v4 maps for the glory and a lot of money. Now, of course, there's going to be other casters, so down below in the description and in the comments, you will have links to the other casters who will be checking out these games, and also to the brackets page so you can see which teams are actually participating. Without further ado, let's get right into this. This is, of course, round 1. It is going to be CB, Cold Beer Drinkers clan, I believe. Shout out to, well, there aren't in this game, but Captain Link Jimmy and Guard, two pretty nice players who play in this clan. And then Hero on the opposing side. Of course, this is more of a Western clan, and this is more of a Chinese clan. Now, this one is actually entirely Chinese. This one has some players from all over. Now, we have Brasras playing as the Wehrmacht, Carrion as the OKW, Captain Rayon as the OKW, and Antaria as the Wehrmacht. Map is Lower Assault, as we can see, and they're spawning in the eastern side, of course. Going to go to Lux have funds coming down. Then on the opposing side, we're going to have Shenzhe Wei Wang. I'm just going to call him Wang. Xiong. Just going to call him Bear, because that's what that means. Baker. Backpack. So we have USF, Soviets, UKF, and more Soviets. So 2 Soviets, 1 of each Western Front Army faction, and then 2 and 2 for the Germans. Nicely balanced. Everyone obviously wants a little bit of that versatility in their team composition. Pretty good start from everybody. It looks like they're moving up towards the center. Lower Assault has the, in case you've never played 4v4s, has the very peculiar setup of 5 VPs, 2 of them in the extreme north, 1 of them in the center, and 2 in the south. Although the 2 VPs in the south, as we see the first engagement coming down, infantry section is going to be pushing away at this cube wagon. Definitely not good position for the cube wagon to be in, but the MG42 will be setting up and covering the retreat of the vehicle. Of course, it will manage to suppress both of these infantry squads from the allies. A second machine gun, this time an ally one of Vickers, is setting up and trying to provide some fire support for our allied troops, but the first infantry section is taking huge casualties and will need to retreat soon enough to avoid getting completely wiped out. Second conscript might get wiped out actually by the Volksgrenadiers. Very good. So first blow is struck already by the ally, the Axis. First blood for these Volksgrenadiers. Incoming also a nice flank from the Sternpiles trying to get around the Vickers heavy machine gun team, but unfortunately for them, they get pushed away a little bit by these penals, and also looks like the bush kind of prevented them from flanking correctly, and so the MG survives. It seems like, yeah, it's going to survive. We have mortars from both sides starting to open up. Of course, it is a 4v4, so we're going to be expecting lots and lots of artillery from the start. Indirect fire is going to be crucial for success of both of these teams, taking out support weapons, and of course, pushing back defensive positions. Interestingly enough, already Brasras going for the fire engineer and increasing rounds to get some extra damage down deep. Looks like the Axis really wants to push for the center and the south heavily in the early game. In the south, we have Antaria completely taking over without any opposition, because it looks like Wang over here had come into the center to support his allies, and so he hadn't sent any troops to the south. That allowed our Wehrmacht player down here to come through and just flank around. Now he's capturing the vineyard strategic point. Only looks like an infantry section is going to be trying to stop him, which might get suppressed by the MG if it does reposition. However, the north has been left to the allies, so it's a bit of an exchange. Now, of course, in the north we have a munitions point. The 2 fuel points are fairly close to the base on this map, a bit like, I don't know, Lien Forest. And so, of course, it is going to be pretty hard to deny them to the enemy. But it overall looks like the allies are doing quite decently in the north, but this huge swarm of Volksgrenadiers is going to be forcing away the riflemen quite easily, and there really aren't any more defenses up in the north except a rear echelon troop and a fighting position for our allied players. So even the north seems to be basically in danger of being captured by the allies, or sorry, the Axis. And of course, we have the huge fortification of the center starting up. Rosras going for a reinforcement bunker, of course, because he wants to keep his mortars and MGs topped up and ready to go at all times. So getting that reinforcement bunker before the OKW can even think about getting this close with their battle group headquarters. We do have a battle group coming up from Captain Rayon and a mechanized regiment headquarters coming up from Carrion. So of course, Germans are going to be able to bring out both light vehicles and a little bit of a better support in the form of LEIGs soon enough. You have a M3 scout car prowling up the north, trying to find some targets with its flamethrower. Against these buildings, it is going to be extremely, extremely dangerous. But here comes the Volksgrenadiers. Oh, they unfortunately... Okay, no, now they do receive the Panzerfaust from the battle group headquarters. Unfortunately, they're taking too much fire, and they have to retreat. Interestingly enough, the M3 scout car unloads the engineers right into the church, and the engineers will be starting to open up with their flamethrower against the German troops in the area. MG42 in the meantime is just mowing down Allied forces as they approach and reaching up to that 11 kills already, so that MG42 definitely doing its part for the Fatherland. In the south, as you can see, this castle right here is the reason why I was saying that this extra VP is very weird. It's only got a couple of very narrow access points, and in general the pathfinding here is very weird, and also the line of sight is very weird. Look at the Fog of War, as you can see. These units are kind of limited in what they can see, so of course once somebody does capture that, it is going to be a little bit of a pain for the rest of the team to defend it, and it is going to be a big, huge pain for the opposing side to come in and do something about it, trying to recapture it. So of course, having all these VPs is a huge advantage because, as you may or may not know, if you have a triple cap going, you're going to be every 3 seconds dropping free tickets from the enemy, free VPs. And so if you have, for example, 4 VPs to the enemy's 1, that is the equivalent of having a triple cap in a, for example, normal map. And if you have, for example, 5 VPs to 0, you're going to be dropping 5 tickets every 3 seconds, which is a little bit insane. Here comes a Flame Half-Track from Ontario. Very nice purchase, actually. This is a very strong unit against infantry, and it looks like he's been abusing the fact that the Americans in the start have a bit of a problem dealing with light vehicles because, of course, they need to wait for that veterancy one on the rifleman to get the anti-tank rifle grenade, and, of course, the anti-tank gun is locked behind the captain tier, and, of course, Backpack seems to have gone for every A half-track. So, of course, from the lieutenant tier, that is going to definitely counter that Flame Half-Track, but it's going to be taking a while to get to the front. So in the meantime, the Flame Half-Track can do quite a bit of damage. In the meantime, looks like the Mortar Pit from that Sion, he's going to have a bit of a problem with it because he's getting charged at by lots of German troops who are using the center as a sort of a base of operations to just strike out towards the north and south. And that's working out very, very well for the Germans. The Allies need to put up some kind of concentrated push to retake the center, but it's going to be very, very hard at this point. Half-Track does come up and starts to pound against the 222, but M3 Scout Car tries to get in, and it is going to get blasted to hell by the 222 armored car. Meantime, we see a 6-pounder, which unfortunately misses the half-track of its first round, and so that will not do too much. Luke's will definitely counter the poor flak half-track, even saving the 222 Scout Car. So it looks like the Germans absolutely winning every engagement so far and getting themselves a dominant position in the center of the map. They still have to deal with this MG and this AT gun position and a couple of mortars that the Allies have set up, but they have managed to destroy the mortar pit for the Brits. And of course, more importantly, it doesn't seem like the Allies have any forward HQ type of position, whereas the Germans, of course, do have a battle group headquarters, a reinforcement bunker, and perhaps even some kind of other medic station. No, they don't have another medic bunker, but they might soon enough build one. In the south, Ontario is just holding down an entire flank of the map with just 1 MG. I would like for one of these players from the Allies in the south, so either Xiong or Wang, to come down and with 1 or 2 units just harass the south, try to see if they can flank around, capture this VP without the MG noticing, because that would definitely put a bit of a well, dent in the German VP lead, of course. They already have 4-0, and it's very, very bad for the Allies. They're down to 330, basically, VPs. So that's not very good. Luke's, in the meantime, is just rampaging through the center, getting kills on this AT gun. The second AT gun, the 6-pounder, covering it from the flank, forces the Lukes to retreat. But of course, we have lots and lots of well, mortar fire coming in from Rosras, who has gone for 3 mortars. That is definitely a decent little choice, because his allies are bringing up lots and lots of infantry. Well, maybe not Antaria, but Antaria has more of the map to cover, so he has to bring out a little bit more of these AT guns. And of course, he's gone for the flame half-track as well, so that's very good. But his allies do have quite a bit of a field presence. Captain Rayon even going for 4 Fox Grenadiers, because he wants to also come up into the north and try to capture as much as possible of the north, basically not leaving the allies any points for free. This is definitely the best mindset to have. There goes a penal. Unfortunately, it's going to go down. In the meantime, these riflemen are trying to dislodge these Fox Grenadiers, and they might be able to, because of course there's only 2 windows firing out of this house. But of course, these riflemen are in open terrain, whereas the folks are in heavy cover from the building, so they're going to be able to win the engagement in the long term. In the meantime, the Germans are pushing in with their light vehicles mercilessly and doing a quite fine job at that, especially with the support of this MG42 and a lot of infantry. So it looks like all of the players from the Axis team are participating in this push. We have the Flame Half-Track from Antaria. We have, of course, Carrion with his Lukes and Rakenwerfer. We have Brosras with his infantry and mortar support and 222 Scout Car. And of course, we have up here Captain Rayon capturing the points behind them, even bringing up, looks like, another truck, which is going to be turned into a Schwerpanzer to protect the northern, I guess, northeastern VP. So looks like the VP lead will be firmly secured by the Germans. The push has gone pretty well. It has destroyed the Ford HQ that the British were setting up behind this house, which is definitely a very, very huge sort of coup for the Germans, because they didn't want the Allies having that reinforcement point so close to the front line. 2 T-70s coming out of our Soviet players. Unfortunately, it looks like this anti-tank gun will be able to, along with the support of these Volksgrenadiers with their Panzerfausts, will be able to push these back. There's also a Stuka. Stuka, well, will not have fired yet, but we'll see whether or not the first barrage gets a lot of kills off. Panther 2 Lux is up to Vet 2, which is of course very, very good. At Vet 5, this Lux does get the ability to suppress infantry, and it can do so even on the move. So it is very, 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 very imperative that the Allies take this thing out before it reaches that stage of veterancy. Doctrinal picks, we have a heavy cavalry company from Backpack, clearly trying to go for that Pershing. Hero hasn't gone for anything yet. Soviet Shock Army from Wang, trying to go for that 120mm mortar, which was recruited by our Xiong. And Baker has gone for a guard motor coordination tactics, trying to go for those T-34-85 swarms. But yeah, I see that the Allies are really going for a lot of late game with their doctrines. Of course, the heavy cavalry company and the guard motor coordination. And of course, the Soviet Shock Army has the ML-20 howitzer. But it seems like they're getting pushed back by just sheer coordination from the Axis team. They're able to ball up their forces in a much more efficient sort of formation and support each other, rather than just trying to essentially have one player going north, two players going mid, one player going south, as Hero are doing, it seems. So let's see, the Germans, yeah, we do have one doctrine pick. We have the Breakthrough Doctrine from Carrion, who already seems to be looking for the late game. He's got a Supply Half-Track and a Stuka. Stuka has it has barrage that looks like this area, but didn't really get a lot done. Only 1 kill on the infantry. Very unfortunate. T-70 moving up. Might be able to wipe out this vet-free squad. Very, very nice pickup from the T-70. This is exactly what the T-70 is made to do. Unfortunately, we do have lots and lots of ATs from the Germans. We'll also manage to destroy that Veteran 1 MG. So overall, T-70 push working out fine, although it's 13 minutes in. So of course, T-70's window of effectiveness will be, well, rapidly running out as heavier vehicles approach the battle. For example, well, we have... Why did you have to do that? Okay, for example, so far we only have Uber Soldan coming in from Captain Rayon, but soon enough he's going to have enough fuel to go for something. Oh no, he's actually going for a mechanized, so he would be going for a KT had the game gone on a little bit longer, because of course we have a 4 quadruple cap. As you can see, that it's very, very, very devastating. Just getting those VPs down just as quickly as a triple cap would be. I mean, I guess I could call it a triple cap. It's 4-1. So very, very bad for our Axis players, and they're going to be going down quite quickly. So yes, this is exactly what I thought. Luric Assault is a map that can be very, very punishing to players who do not really do too well in the early game. And this is kind of what we saw. I mean, the Germans really were able to get that first push executed perfectly, and then sort of hold their position with a nice fortification, because of course they're the Germans. They can get out those reinforcement bunkers, they can get out those battle group headquarters from the OKW. So they do have a bit of an early advantage when it comes to fortifying up an area. So they were able to keep control over their center, which was crucial because they had the south with just a little tiny force. And then, of course, from the center, they could strike out north. And once they could, of course, secure these 3 southern points, it only takes 1 northern point to make a triple cap. So, of course, that was their strategy, and it worked out perfectly. What I would say Hero should have done a little bit better is, I guess, focus a little bit harder on recapturing the center and harassing the south. Because while they did have a pretty good position up in the north, or perhaps they should have doubled down on the north, one of the two. Because what they ended up doing was kind of, I don't know, weirdly sometimes going to the center, sometimes going to the north, and then never really going to the south. So what they should have done is they should have focused like 2 or 3 players onto one of these areas of the map and trying to retake it as much as possible. Again, preferably the center, because it is the more important. But if they had wanted to focus up on the north, just to try to hold 2 VPs to have a 3 against 2 VP situation, they could have done that, and then trying to push into the German base area from sort of this line in the north. But hey, didn't end up working out. So I want to thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Right after this one, there's going to be game 2, and then if there's a game 3, there's of course a best of 3, I believe, for the initial rounds. So yes, I'll see you in game 2. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed.